dance, truffle shuffle. All right, cool. Bacon sizzling. Don't know if you can hear it or not. We hit the fast, we're past the sizzle part. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cook this up because you have to have fat when you make a beef liver pate. And I'm gonna use bacon grease to caramelize the onions and to cook the, what's the other thing I'm putting in there? Garlic, which I need to grab. All right, so I've got a bowl out here because I find that it's always good to have a trash bowl lying around. So first thing we do is get those onions ready. Bacon's looking pretty good, boys and girls. I'll show it to you in a second. Check this out, looking good. Feet. All right, so onion chopping. Now, if you're going for a caramelized, but ultimately we're going to puree this, right? Because it's going to be a pate. So really, a really nice technique I use for making sure that the chop is easy is you want to get the skins off. And now, I could have pre-prepped all of this, but I'm just cooking dinner for the family tonight, or tomorrow technically. And I figured I'd invite you guys along for the ride. Since I haven't been streaming a lot lately and people give me a hard time about it, you know, I do this regularly, so I thought if I can devise a way to show you while I'm doing it, it could be a lot of fun. Dog's name is Pua, it's P-U-A, and it means flower. Her actual full name on paper, if you go to like the vet where she's registered and stuff, it's Pua Makahele, and that means wildflower, or flower that wanders technically, in Hawaiian. And we chose it because she's adopted, she's 8 years old, and when she came to us, her name was Pookie, which I thought was a terrible name for a dog, especially a Jack Terrier. So we changed it to Pua because it was the closest approximation that I could find to the actual name itself. Dude, that's why she's hanging out in here. So basically what you do is you leave this part on, the stem section, on your onion, you skin it, then you cut crossways twice, and then you cut long towards the stem 3 or 4 times depending on how big your onion is, and then when you chop it right down, you notice it comes off in these already diced pieces. So there's no need to actually go through the extra dice action. Let me just do a better camera spot for you. Should be a better view. There we go, we'll cook over here. Oh god, I'm tearing up. The onions are real, man. The onions are real. Oh, it burns so good. So anyway, so chop down and then look at that dice that comes out perfectly just like that. You're already diced, it saves you a ton of time. So that's a little technique that I've used for a while to make that onions, because a lot of times when you cook with onions, which I love doing, one of my biggest issues is it does add to your prep time. And I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a streamer, I'm a content creator. The one thing I have none of is time. So this technique definitely lets me cook faster and more effectively, but also really kind of keep my cuts even, which is important, obviously. You guys probably all know that one of the goals you have when you cook is that you want to keep your cuts even so that they cook evenly. Now our bacon's done, a little bit crisp, but that's what I wanted here. I just wanted as much grease out of these as I could get. So put those to the side. I like my bacon extra crispy, and that's exactly what we got here. And now I'm going to pull off the burner for just a second while we finish up my onion prep. But I've got a whole pan of bacon fat. And then what I'm going to do with the bacon fat is just put the delicious looking there is I'm going to throw these onions into that bacon fat after the garlic. So the garlic will go first, then we'll do the onions. And I have actually some leftover onions from the other night. We had some people here. So we made some hamburgers. So I'm going to use that leftover onion instead of wasting a whole other onion in the process. Now, I'm going to warn you guys. I have never, ever cooked this before. I'm winging it. I like to cook a lot. I don't know if I'm that great at it. I'm entirely self-taught and just like to have fun and try stuff, and sometimes it turns out absolutely disgusting, and then when I take a bite, everyone laughs because I throw it away or I make my family eat it and say sorry about tonight's meal. But most of the time it works out pretty good, so hopefully tonight is one of those nights. Put our garlic here. And now, I don't know, you guys may not use a lot of garlic. Garlic is another one that's very annoying because of the fact that you have to skin the garlic and it's sticky. So what I like to do is I chop off the hard end and I chop off the soft end. And you take the knife, turn it sideways, put the sharp edge towards you so you don't hurt yourself, and just push down on it. You're gonna feel the smash. And then once it smashes, the skin peels right off. It comes off without too much trouble, and you can get it out. So especially if you're using it for like cooking, if you don't need it to be a very pretty garlic piece. See, look at the skin came right off and stuck to my bandage. By the way, the bandage is not from cooking. I was chopping wood yesterday. There's a nice big pile outside. As I was stacking the logs from a tree I cut down, I dropped 2 of the logs together and landed on my thumb. Hurt it pretty bad, so now it's just sort of arranged so that it doesn't hurt as much, I guess. That's the best way to put that. So pop it, and it comes right off. Your skin is gone, and your garlic remains. That's pretty good. Also, there's a chance my son may wake up here, and when he does, he'll just join us in the kitchen. Or I'll put Cars on, because if I put Cars on, well, he will leave us alone for an hour and a half. Because Cars is his favorite movie in the entire world. Don't tell him I'm not supposed to let him watch TV a lot, but how can you say no to a cute little baby, you know? Let's see if this came out good. Bacon. Mmm. Top notch. I try, Hot Monkey, I try. Alright, so we've got a little bit of garlic here. Get this, we're gonna put the oil. I'll show you guys in the pan right now. It's a little hot, so we use this. Inside of here, it's just lots, you can see it right there. That's all bacon grease, and that's what we want to use to sort of add some flavor to this pate process. He hasn't watched Cars 2 and he won't. A, because I don't want to spend money on Cars 2 if he knows that Cars doesn't know about it. Like, why bother? So, a little more garlic because I stand firm in the idea that you can never have too much garlic, man. I once went to this restaurant. My dad took me to a restaurant when I was just out of college. It was my last girlfriend, not my wife. The one before the wife. He took the 2 of us out to dinner. He took us to this restaurant that was famous for garlic. It was called Black Garlic. And they cooked everything with so much garlic, and it was so delicious. The problem is you got garlic hangovers from it. So it was pretty brutal. Delicious, but brutal. Okay, so we chop that up just a little bit, get it nice and diced, just so this will cook off a little bit better. There we go. That looks like a good amount of garlic. I don't know, what's the consensus? What do you guys think? Is this enough garlic for the pate, or more garlic? I'll let you decide. 1 for more garlic. 2 for no more garlic. Meanwhile, I'm gonna take a drink. All right, got that. Let's chop the rest of these onions up just a little bit. I'm gonna bring this to heat. Now, my oven is gas, as you guys can probably tell. I definitely prefer cooking on gas. That was one of the best parts of moving to this house, was that I had a nice kitchen. It's much bigger. If you guys want to take a look at the whole kitchen here. This is sort of, ooh, hey, look at the belly. There's a belly. That's a man who likes to cook. So that's a nice big kitchen here. But gas really, I think, is what takes us to the next level when it comes to sort of our cookability. Kill it with garlic. It's tempting to go with more because I've never cooked it before, right? So the idea that maybe extra garlic would cover up my failures in sort of texture is definitely tempting. Now this is a Wolfgang Puck knife, nothing spectacular. It's just a Santoku. It's alright, it's not my favorite knife. I have been saving up a lot of money to try and get my hands on a shun, but those things are wicked expensive, and to be honest, I feel like mixers for my stream and stuff are a far better use of my time and money. But I dream of the day that I can get my hands on a nice shun. So here's the leftover burger onions that we had the other night. So I'm going to chop those up real quick. Much as I hate chopping onions because it wasn't obviously chopped with my special technique to make it easy, but it'll still work. All right, so now the garlic that we put in, I can start to smell it. It's not that burnt, but it's that caramelized sound that we kind of want and that smell. So now that that's coming in from the garlic, we're going to throw the rest of these onions in there. And I've obviously got some more onions to add as we cut them up. Onions cook. So basically when you make a beef liver pate, the flavors that I'm going for are very similar to what you would get from, say, a liver and onion sort of combination, sort of that old school comfort food. And the reason I'm doing this, as you guys probably don't know, I found it significantly cheaper. I cook a lot. For me to purchase an entire cow once a year instead of buy meat at the grocery store. So once a year, I have a farmer out in the country. Lacey raises a cow specifically for our family on grass. It's fully grass-fed, open range. And then the last month, they bring it into a barn where they give it some grain and sort of let it relax. And then it goes to the slaughterhouse, and I pick it up from there. And that's our meat for the year. So we get grass-fed meat. The thing about it is, sure, you get the steaks and the hamburger, but you also end up with cuts like liver and tongue and heart and things like that. So I'm not big on wasting, so I want to make sure that I use everything. And I don't generally like liver the traditional way. I like liver in alternative serving options. And so we're going to try with the pate. First time, we'll see if it goes well. All right, so those are in there cooking now. Grab a little spoon here for stirring purposes. My wife buys all the silicone stuff like these here. These are like cool little spatulas made of silicone so they don't stick and whatnot, but I'm old-fashioned. I like a nice bamboo wood spoon. I feel like, you're gonna laugh at me, I feel like it lets me feel my food while I'm cooking. I remember to stand over here so I can actually see me. I didn't cut my hand the first time, Blea. This is a wood chopping injury. And yes, I will say the full tang, the handle that goes all the way down, riveted, that is the one thing that, like, for my first knife, I wanted to make sure 3 rivets and a full tang. So if you do buy a knife, those are things you want to look for right out of the gate. My range is gas, yes. See, you guys are helpful. All right, so that's cooking there. While that's going, we are going to get the liver opened up and take a look at what we're working with here. It's defrosted today. The cow that we are using went to slaughter about a month ago. I'm just about to sink real quick here. Whoa, look at this. Take a plate. One set, guys, is very bloody. Oh, yeah. That's what I'm talking about. All right, liver. So this is the liver. Now, I do not like to cut meats on the same boards that I cut vegetables and other things on, so we're going to move my little veggie board out and bring in my meat board here. The meat board, obviously, because it has the draining sections. I don't eat Sank. He's only 2 yet, so I haven't crossed that yet. We haven't crossed that bridge just yet, monkey. But you know what? I probably will, because I was spanked and I definitely deserved it. So, you know, it's one of those things where you're just like, is it the right choice? And I think it's what's right for you. All right, so the onions, you guys want to take a look at this right now, are nice and caramelized. They're getting that good texture on them. That bacon fat is really in there. All right, so now we're talking liver. Let's lay it all out. Obviously the liver, this is really soft, really gentle, because these cows have never had any alcohol. Sorry, that was a stupid joke. Now, the thing you want to do with the liver, from what I understand, like I said, I haven't cooked a ton of liver, is you want to make sure that you go back over it and make sure it's been trimmed correctly. Take this bandage off, we get blood on 1 second while I take off the bandage. I don't want blood on this thing. So really it's just a thumb stabilizer. The cut's mostly gone, the thumb is healed pretty significantly. I took anti-inflammatories all day yesterday. All right, so liver's out. I want to make sure that it's all cleaned up. See, if you look at it, you can see where they pulled a lot of the muscle and things like that out. The butcher that I get this from is very, very good at what he does, so I'm pretty confident that it will be in good shape. A little bit of the blood dripped on the floor. My dog's down there eating it right now. She's literally the happiest dog in the world at the moment. So he's very smooth, very tender. All right, so now we're just gonna cut it up into smaller pieces. And the reason for that is eventually it's all gonna go in my food processor. After raw meat is on it, I use hot water and soap, and then I have a scrub brush that I use to make sure that everything's out of it. Now the key is you'll never be able to get all of the raw meat out, as far as I have experience with, outside of deep steam sanitization. So what I do is I only use this board for meat, and I make sure that it's cleaned after every usage, but I never use anything that's not raw meat on this board. That way I guarantee that whatever is cooked on it in the future is going to be going through a cooking process and will be sanitized one way or the other. A little bit of tendon, get rid of that. So we'll break this meat down just a little. Smaller pieces. Now, a lot of people don't like cooking with liver. It's gamier. It's not as delicious as the porterhouse steaks that I have in the freezer, or I'm sorry, defrosted for later tonight. I'll take those out and show them to you later if you'd like to see them. We're gonna cut these nice and small so they cook evenly. And if you guys have any tips for me, please feel free to share them. Keep in mind, I'm not a professional. I am just a gamer who likes to cook. And thought, well, I haven't been streaming gaming lately because I've been so busy, so why not do this? And so far I'm having fun. Hopefully you guys are having a good time. The music's not too loud. But if this turns out good, it's a relatively simple recipe that you can make and really impress people. And not necessarily as a dinner. This is going to be sort of a pate, so you can eat it. I've got some fresh bread. It's an olive oil bread I got from my local baker. And you can sort of put it out as an impress spread. So you invite someone over you want to show off to. It's a really great way to do it. All right. So we're just about done prepping out the liver pieces. They're going to go in with the onions here in a minute. Now and the thing about the liver is you don't want to cook it too long. So I want to make sure that everything else that I need is good to go by the time the liver goes in. Because the idea is to cook it, but to keep it a little bit pinker on the very inside. Okay, got that. Here's my secret weapon. A little Bordeaux Jadot. Now this is a house wine that my wife and I actually drank when we were in France, and absolutely loved. It's very nice. The problem is that you can't leave it out for a long period of time or it vinegarises on you. So what we do is if we don't finish the bottle of wine the first couple of days that we open it, we save it for cooking with. And that's what I'm going to put in there to add a little extra flavor to this whole process. I think it'll be pretty good. I'm a substitute teacher and a full-time dad. So when he's with grandma, I pick up teaching shifts. We're just getting ready, like transitioning. We're going my wife's job. She did, I guess, a good job last year, so they want to send the two of us on a little Bahamas cruise next week, so we're doing that. I do weddings on the side, so I'm doing a wedding next month, so I've been kind of working on getting the wedding ready, meeting with the couple, things of that nature. So, busy in the sense of it's just been tough to find nights to sort of sit down and just be a streamer. That looks very good. I'm going to pull it to the side, and we're going to get that liver in there. I like the smell of that. Liver, liver, liver. Maybe I shouldn't have chopped it up. You learn as you go. All this flavor to melt together. Get back on there. See that finger flip? Alright, I'm going to move the camera over in a minute so that you can see what's going on in there. Look how gross that board is. Alright. Take that, put it over here. I don't want to use that again now that it's got raw meat embedded into it. Let's do this. Stand by for movement. Camera feed. Look at that shot. There we go. That's better. Now, if you're using a frying pan, you can do a flip technique. It's a little harder without the frying pan. So we're just going to do a little stir action. We get a brown on this liver, get it nice and browned up. Now, because I used bacon grease, I don't need to use a lot of salt. However, I stand by the need for additional things. I've got some seasonings here I want to add in. So this is sage. I am going to chop up the sage right now. Get that right there, just like this. There we go. So pull the sage out here. Let's give it a quick wash. Off a couple of leaves. Such violence to these leaves. Such violence. Fold it over, rip out the spine. If the spine seems like it'll be a problem, some of the leaves are small enough or young enough that it's not. I'll just leave the spine in there. I don't have to pull off a cool scorpion. I think it was a scorpion or Sub-Zero that used to like rip the spines off of people. It was pretty crazy. So the good old days. And now, you can't see me right now, but I am rinsing the knife off. Make sure that we get the liver off the knife, a quick disinfect. And then we'll chop up the herbs. Get those added in there real quick. I'm just using some kitchen shears. Cut down the amount of time for prep. Always a win if you ask me. Some sage, get some sage in there. Good. We went through the TT, but we came back, and I think that we're in good shape with the result. And then we want to put some rosemary in. Love rosemary, one of my favorites. I think probably one of everybody's favorites, to be completely honest with you. And I like a lot of rosemary, especially because I've got an olive oil bread that I'm going to be eating this with. So I think that the rosemary will really pop inside of that. Now, when I bought these, they said pre-washed, but you know, you never want to be too careful. You never be too careful. So take this off, go right off of the stems, just like that. See you later. Same with you. Come on off. Perfection. Perfect. Now, chop, chop, chop. It's not chopping the way that I'd like it to. You're gonna have to go the old-fashioned way. It's a pretty strong rosemary bush. Oh, let's turn that meat. Turn that meat. Don't want it to burn on you. Now I've got it going low and slow right now. We're sitting at just below medium. You could go on a higher temp, but since I'm still sort of cutting up herbs and I want it all to sort of work together, I don't want to overdo it. So we're gonna let that go low and slow while we chop up more herbs. But always fold your finger back while you're chopping. I don't need to cut it up too fine because, like I said, again, this is going to go into a food processor, and hopefully that will take care of a lot of the heavy lifting for us. By the way, every time you see me walk away, I'm going to the sink to wash my hands. I absolutely hate having dirty hands. It's just not my thing. All right, there we go. So that's all done. Stir in all of these herbs. They'll cook up. Oh, look at that. That is coming along, my friends. I feel pretty happy about this. All right. Pate is not raw. You are thinking of, well, I mean, it could be. Sometimes something like you could get a raw pate, I suppose, but most of the stuff that I've seen is cooked. It's just got a little bit pink because you don't cook it all the way through necessarily. You're thinking of cured meats or what's tartars, which are definitely raw. But this is going to have some cook on it. So I think we're just about the point where I want it to be here. Now, the next section is the food processor portion, and I have two problems. A, my food processor doesn't have a cord that's long enough to be over here to do the processing. So we're going to have to get a little creative with the whole thing. Let's see what we can come up with. We're going to have to do some creative camera magic, what we can try. So I'll be back in a second, guys. I'm right over here. Right over here, I promise. All right. I will not. I might eat raw though. You want me to eat raw or maybe? We'll talk about it. Okay. Knife is there. Now let's talk bacon because I want to slip a little bacon into this thing. So we'll grind it up, break it up a little bit, toss it in. It's gonna add some flavor. If not, I don't care. I might add a little bit of weird texture, but I don't eat it. Okay. Now, all right, let's put it in the processor. Let's move the camera over to that stage of the game. Whoop. There we go. We'll bring our food over to here. And you're gonna lose me, I think, in the talking camera for just a second. I'm just gonna come back and say hi every once in a while. But if all goes as planned, I should be able to put this into the food processor. And it should come out, it should blend okay. Now I might need to add some oil, but, and I stand by this, I learned to cook a long time ago from my mother. My mother learned to cook from her mother. And something that we've always said as a family, and I think in general, is the idea that you can take a risk with food. It's totally okay. You know, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's not the end of the world. Especially with an ingredient like liver, which you can buy so ridiculously cheap. Like I actually have extra ingredient that's not going into here right now, so we'll see how that comes out. But before I do that, actually, let's take a taste of the liver and see just how good it is. So, without further ado, I need a fork. Take out a piece that looks cooked, grab a little onion with it. Now normally I dislike liver, so this is kind of a big go for me here. I like the lime. That's good. That's good. I think it'll pate out well, in theory. All right, drink. There is no rum in there. Now there's a sound, huh? Rip ears. Ooh. Ooh. Well, gee. Would you look at that? I just chop the rest up in here, huh? Rip ears. Rip ears. I went to TI. I'm in the Midwest now, so I lived in Boston for a little while. Now I live in Indiana, and an interesting story about Indiana. Indiana wanted the UPS distribution center to be here, and UPS said we have to be as far east as we want to be as far west as we can be while still on an Eastern time zone for the benefit of like getting out packages early. So Indianapolis pushed the entire state to vote, and we went from what was a Midwestern time, Indiana Standard Time, to Eastern Standard Time, so we could get UPS to move here. Oh my God. A little more zipping. Needs more zipping. Should I just probably blend them separately. Get our textures right. That's good. All right, so we're gonna clean it out into a bowl. Then we're gonna switch it out and get our next grouping going. Let's pop right off here. Bring it out in its entirety. Whoop. I did go to TI, and TI was everything that anybody would ever hope it was. I loved it. It was awesome. It was fun. It was so good. So good. All right. I want to get this out because it has some pieces that did not spin out. You know, I could probably just add the rest of this onto here and zip it some more. I don't see a downside to this. I mean, the smoother the better, so let's just do it. Let's just do it. Why ask why, right? Oh, that's good. That's really good. That came out great. Skeptical. What if I ruin the whole thing right here? Not an idea. We're gonna take some out, and we can always add it back in for more zipping. Processing. I call it zipping. I don't know. It's just fun to say. Zip it. Get that nice and smooth like a pate should be. Now we'll put this back into position. The rest of this in. All of that oniony goodness that was in here. Get that flavor in there. And now you want your pate to be cold, so after a little bit here, we're going to put them into forms. I'm probably just going to use ramekins because it's easier. And then we will use those ramekins and put it in the fridge to solidify, and then come back hot. All right, spin the camera again. TT Tours, baby. I was definitely there. Maybe it was my evil twin brother. That would explain. If you had a bad run-in with me while I was there, it was my evil twin. Whipped up. That smells good. That whipped really well. All right, I'm going to add the other stuff that we already did into it to whip it together. And then we should be exactly where we want to be. It's got a little, this one has a little more rosemary and sage in it. You can tell because the color schemes don't quite match up. But I think we'll be in good shape here. It's starting to look real good. Starting to look real good, baby. Alright, that goes onto there. It'll come out of size. Never hurt nobody. so loud. It is loud. I don't know. You know, I'm sorry. I can turn. Here, I can turn it down. I'll turn it down. No, yeah, I'll turn it down during the blending process. There we go. And you know what, Jordy? I've never done this before, but I think I might start doing it more often because I find it entertaining. So Pate, we've got the two blends put together now. You can see the difference in lines. We'll see if we can... That's really loud, so I apologize to that, guys. I know. You want me to mute it? Would you like me to mute it in between? Now, if you're having trouble, if it's not smooth enough for you, from what I understand, and again, this is a new recipe for me, you can add a little bit of olive oil into it as you're cooking, and that will fix the problem. That, however, is very smooth, it's very creamy. I might add a tiny, tiny bit of olive oil, but not very much at all. It's got a lot of salt. A little tiny bit of that. So here we go, salt for the cure. And then we're gonna put the lid on. I'm about to buzz, so if you need to mute, go for it. But before you do that, if you guys don't know, your food processor has a hole in the top. The idea with the hole up here is that you can pour while you're blending. That way it doesn't all settle in one place, it spreads it out throughout the process. So, go ahead and mute your sound for a second. We're going to start blending. Like, I'm annoyed by how loud that is. Blending is done, sound is back. Let's take a little taste. We'll bring it over here. Oh, come on, you. Pop, pop. If you're a fan of community, maybe you got a secret second message out of that. Whoop, whoop. All right, let's check this out. That's the stuff on the outside. I don't know why I tried it. It's not what we're opening for. Alright, now, let's have a little taste. But before I have a taste of this, I feel like I should eat some bacon. Because why not? Okay, so, I'm gonna rinse this off. You ever wear cargo shorts? You get them like caught on something because of the pockets on the legs? Okay, so there's the texture. See, it's runny. The idea is you don't want it to be like super runny like a water, but you want it to be able to spread on bread. So this tastes really good. Now, what I did is I went out and bought this kind of bread for tomorrow. This is let me move it over to here so you can see a little better. There we go, higher vision group. So this is an olive oil fresh baked bread today. I'm gonna cut off just a piece of it so we can sort of see how it spreads, test that out. What's this? That's the butt. What do? We throw it over there. Actually, no. You know, give it to the dog. The dog is a happier dog now. Okay. So there's our piece. The rest I'm gonna tie back up because we're gonna need it tomorrow in all of its fresh glory, because you do want to let this sit overnight in the fridge. I don't know, the bacon was just for the fat, junky junk man. You guys can have some if you want. Here you go. Take a bite. Jesus Christ, you ate the whole piece. Alright. So the idea, if the recipe worked, is that I can take this with a knife, the idea is that I'm going to take my pate knife, is this little thing, cheese knife, whatever. Why make the head? You guys, liver pate is delicious. So I'm going to be able to scoop it at the end, take my piece of bread, and smear it across just like that. I mean, that seems to me like our textures came out good. So go to this one, you can see that. I'm pretty happy with that, to be honest. There you go. You can see the rosemary and the herb in there. It's beef liver. So we'll try to taste it. It's going to be hot, so it's not going to have the same texture. The idea when we freeze it or chill it, from what I understand, is it's going to harden up and be a little bit more of a texturous bite. This will give us a taste. It's sweet. The sage is awesome. And you can taste the bacon. There's not a lot of it, but it definitely pops. Come out really good. So, I'm not going to finish eating this because I want to eat in front of you guys. Oh! Good job. She sat instead. I respect that. Look how excited she is. Look how excited she is. Good girl. Enjoy your liver. Ugh. Sorry. My webcam was coming loose on the clip there. TT tours. Alright, so that's the basics. We chopped it all up. The liver pate is all but ready. Now we're gonna have to put it into forms. You know what? You're right. I think could have had a little more garlic. Tiny bit, not a ton. Okay. Now, the question is, what do I want to put it in to frame it out? As you can probably guess, I don't make pate a lot. Okay, that'll work. So I'm gonna use this meatloaf jar here, and then what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna send this over this way a little bit more. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put some wax paper on the bottom, and then put the pate in, and then put some saran wrap on top. Now, so what'd you bring up? Somebody asked a question. Gamers not prone to gout. That's how you get gout. Okay, so I'm not cooking it all the time. The French people don't have gout, so it's clearly something else. And also keep this in mind, and this is important. For those of you who may not have gotten here right away, this is from my cow. My family, or I guess, every year I buy a cow in its entirety. A rancher raises it for us on grass. It eats grain for the last month of its life, and then it goes and gets killed. And we collect all that meat, and I cook it. It's in my freezer. So what that means is I get a lot of stuff, not necessarily just the nice stuff like the steaks, but I also get the things like the offal and this and the heart and the tongue and the liver and all that stuff. So I've always been like, yeah, I hate liver. I don't like liver and onions. This is my hope for a solution, basically. Now I am going to use just a tiny, tiny bit of oil spray here because I don't want it to, when it sets, I don't want it to stick to this paper. I know it's wax paper, but just for a little extra bump because I don't want to risk it. So now that it's in there, let's go ahead and put the pate in. First things we do is we gotta get the blade out. It's gonna have a lot of pate on it. This is where things get messy. Very messy. Do that. Pull the blade out. Oh yeah. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Pate's dirty hands cooks pate. Oh yeah. Look at that coming off. I'm gonna have to let the dog lick this. Can't, it's got blades on it. Obviously. Not a bad person. Cow's licenses away. Yep, so I actually have so Jordy, I have a freezer outside where I have an entire cow that lasts most of the year. And the reason that we chose to do the cow is I do cook a lot, and I would go to the grocery store, and if I wanted good, like grass-fed, 98% lean beef, you're still paying $7.99 a pound for like ground beef. So I looked into the cost of going to a butcher, of going to a farmer, and to have the cow raised by them on grass, finished with grain. Shut up, you two. Finished with grain, and then going to the slaughter, the processing, the packaging. I get them all packaged for long-term freezing. It breaks down to about $4.99 a pound, between $4.50 and $4.99 depending on the year, and that's for everything. So that means that the 200 plus pounds of ground beef I got was all $4.99 a pound. But it also comes with a bunch of ribeyes and porterhouses and roasts and like some really nice cuts of meat that I'm also getting at $4.99 a pound. So when you break it down like that, it saves a lot, but it also tastes so much better. Like there's no way to explain to you how much better the cow that's grass-fed and raised in a free-range sort of environment tastes. And for those of you who don't know, I grew up in Hawaii, but my parents had a small ranch there, about 30 acres, where we did raise our own cattle and sheep and pigs, One of the ways that I paid for my first ever graphics card was a Voodoo, and I got it so that I could beta test EverQuest. And one of the ways that I raised the money for that is I got a job at a shitty feedlot and busted my butt there, and then took the money from the feedlot and purchased 3 pigs and raised the pigs and then sold them, and that was enough money to buy myself the Voodoo. So I guess you could say farm fresh food actually got me into video games. Alright, so we're gonna loaf it, and then basically what's gonna happen, if all goes as planned, is I'll put another piece of paper on top of this, and then we'll put it in the fridge so it can settle and cool. And then once it cools, I'll be able to flip it over and have a loaf of pate ready to go. So let's do actually we're gonna do saran wrap over the top, and we're gonna call it a day. Parchment paper, saran wrap, foil, come on. Cling wrap, here we go. Four comes out, just like that. Cling wrap goes back in because clean as you go makes it less later. Tips from a pro. And that, my friends, will go into the fridge. Get that nice and tight. And I'm going to let that settle. Alright, let's read what's going on up here. Need some bacon while we do this. Yeah, I can show the kitchen. Here's the kitchen, guys. Check it out. A little dirty because I haven't had a chance to clean everything, but here's our camera tour of the house for the kitchen. Back farther. This should be okay. I can't really see the computer, but so that's the fridge, counter space, that's the sink area and my nice little corner of messiness. And then obviously here is the oven, I'm sorry, the range, it's gas, and then my cooking area where the camera and stuff is set up. So there you go. Nothing spectacular. The view's pretty good. The window outside. There you go. Whee! Nice forest. Nice forest. So there we go. That's beef pate, man. So the cupboards, yeah, I love the cupboards. They were like this when I moved in. They're apparently Amish handmade cupboards that were stained by them, so it came out pretty good. I don't know. I think it's dope. I don't know anything about Amish stuff, but it seems pretty good to me. Any questions, guys? You live in Indiana, Jordy? I live in Indianapolis. Just north, actually. So for what it's worth, guys, that whole meal, if you had bought it at the store and spent the money on liver, would have probably cost you about $5.99 for the liver. $3 for the ingredients that we used. So you're looking at maybe an $8 to $10 meal with the bread thrown in. Very impressive, especially if you're having somebody over for appetizers or something like that. That's the kind of thing that takes your date night from, oh, he cut up some pepperoni and cheese, to, my God, he went out of the way to make this for me. So pretty cool. Yeah, let's keep talking. Let's see. What else? Looks like my boo's waking up here soon. I'm gonna go grab my baby, and then I'm gonna talk about future recipe plans, and you guys can weigh in on your cook things. So I'll be right back. Let's see what's going on in here. You wanna say hi? You can say hi. All right, let's see. It's like with fish stock. Ugh. That's disgusting, man. Fish stock pate is no bueno. Gross. Okay, so yes, I have short ribs. I had the ribs done as short. I'm gonna make a, how do I describe it? Asian marinade, basically. I call them Korean barbecue short ribs. So I don't cut them up. I leave them in their shortcut, and I'm gonna marinate them in soy sauce, honey, brown sugar, sesame seed, ginger, allspice, a few other secret ingredients, and then let that run overnight. And then I break them down and grill them out. So I strip out the bone and then cook them sort of like a bulgogi style would, and they come out really, really good. So I can definitely do that on stream. Yeah, man. I mean, easy rest. Yeah. So we could do fried rice. I make a fried rice. It's very simple and really delicious. Impresses people. You know, we got a lot of fun stuff. So if you guys enjoyed it, let me know. I mean, that was the whole point. Is I wanted to cook and just kind of have fun. What are you staring at? You got a cookie? Okay. Don't tell Mom. What do you think? Yeah. There you go. Say thank you. You gonna say thank you? That was a half-assed thank you. Can I have a kiss? Do I get a kiss for the cookie? Do I at least get a kiss? No? Wrecked. Wrecked. Alright. What else we got? Tips from my poor college days. Yeah. Dude, I was there, man. I don't know what Kate Kona means, but anyway. If that's it, guys, that's all I had for tonight. Yeah, Savage. He's the savage one. Oh, do you see yourself on the screen? You see yourself? Can you say bye?
Bye.
You're from Hawaii, right? Do you eat Spam? I eat a ton of Spam. Yeah, man. You know what? I will do a Spam cook here. I had Spam for breakfast today. I cook Spam very, very good. And I actually make a Spam fried rice that's Hawaiian style that people go crazy for. So basically it's your rice, basic rice cook, and then I take the rice and I fry it, and I do some pre-fried Spam, a little bit of green onion, eggs, tons of peppers, onions, cook them all up with some soy sauce, vinegar, a couple other things tossed in, and it comes out really, really good. What are you smiling about? Is the cookie good?
Okay.
Take a bite. Can Daddy have a bite? Can I have a bite? You don't want to share it?
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna want to go.
Dude, I could do this. I'll do the spam fried rice for sure.
Okay.
The beef ribs are hard because I like to cook them to eat, you know. So we'd have to cook right around the time that I feed the family instead of beforehand.
Oh, Mama.
Oh, is that good? Did you rub your belly because it's tasty? Who's on your shirt? Did you show off your tattoos? Anyway. Sorry, I get distracted by this guy. You've never had it. I will definitely teach you guys how to make spam. I know. There's always 3 cans in the house. My family loves it. None of them were born Hawaiian, so they've adapted well. But thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate you hanging out. Come back and see us again soon. Can you say bye? Say bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Little kiss? No kisses for them? Little kiss? Good job.